I never want that beat to end. I love it, man. Absolutely love it. Shout out to HR Bomber too on the show. He's like, Mooch, what was that you were playing before the show? I was like, I was just playing that new beat by C Note Matthews Jr. He's like, that was jiving to that, man. He's like, I wish you didn't shut it off. I was like, I never want to even start the show there. I just want to roll that music for about an hour and a half. Outstanding, guys. Make sure the audio's all right. Make sure everything sounds good. Guys in the chat, please let me know. Tweet it out. Let people know that we are live. We got a great panel assembled tonight. Very excited about tonight's show. Really had an outstanding viewing last night. Just a great overall. But before we get into the show, we'll get into it real quick. I'll start with the one and only. I already said HR Bomber. I'll go with HR Bomber. Bomber, listen, I think maybe 25% of people are here to get reactions. 75% of people are here to see that beard of yours. So, buddy, I got to be honest with you. Outstanding to have you on the channel, man. How are you this evening?
Man, doing pretty good. Been under the weather a little bit the last few days, but just trying to get over it and then dealing with a whole bunch of home life stuff. So, which of course everybody has to deal with. So, but
love when home gets in the way. Yes.
Yeah, gotta love it. But did finally get to watch The Last of Us. So definitely ready to jump in here and have some little hot takes maybe, or some good little conversations about it anyway.
I appreciate that, Bomber. And listen, I got to be honest with you. Never that I spent years on the radio, but when you're under the weather, Bomber, it just helps your voice anyways. It just sounds better on the air, so it doesn't matter. Shout out to X Diamond. He says, Mooch, audio sounds good. X Diamond, thank you. Appreciate that. Mamba's here. What's good, Mooch and panel? What's up with you, buddy? Great to see everybody kind of shuffling in. Please, guys, tweet it out. I'll put the link up in a second here. The great Eric Jackson is here with us tonight. Eric, you know, I almost feel like I'm calling all of my good friends here that I've known for years and saying, guys, you've got to watch the new episode. You're like, Mooch, I'll get to it. That's what's great about streaming. No, apparently I took that option away from all of you guys. Eric, how you doing tonight, buddy? And it's, as always, outstanding to have the voice of reason with us this evening.
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Can you guys hear me all right? Because I just realized I didn't have my mic plugged in.
Oh, you sound good.
Yeah, sound good to me.
Sound good? All right, good to
Yes,
go.
sir.
Good to go. No, man, happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. And yeah, ready to talk about this great show we had, man. They impress me like every week, bro. Like
It does get
I
better.
know some of the episodes definitely are divisive. You know, some people have their feelings on it, but that's the mark of great art. Is when it gets people talking. Art is supposed to invoke emotion. We don't have to like everything. You know.
Thank you.
I wish Twitter understood that, because people feel like you're supposed to love everything that they love at the same damn time. And it's like, no, that doesn't work that way. You know,
And Eric, that's the thing, and that's why I think you have such a good time when we have you on Crossfire as well. Is I like to actually throw that volleyball up there and invoke a good conversation. It's never just, oh, this is right. It never really is. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. It could be sports, could be video games, could be anything. So no, I completely agree with you. And that is the truth. And we're going to get into that tonight. I think that this episode actually stuck a little bit more true, although I do have a couple of curveballs I'm going to throw to you guys that I noticed that we saw some differentials from the game. But before we get into that, the great Basement Radio Arcade Podcast is here. BRAP, great to have you, buddy, on the show. And listen, when it comes to opinions, you have them. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So I can't wait to get your take on this latest episode, buddy. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Mooch. And, I wouldn't say I have opinions. I have thoughts.
No, I like the twist on that.
I mean, but it's great to be here. I mean, it's you've been asking me to come on the recap show for a couple weeks, and
yes,
I was coaching assistant coach of my son's basketball team. The season wrapped up, so
that takes priority. So and that's literally what I said to him. Eric knows this too. I've been talking to Eric behind the scenes for a while, and Bob, all three of you have been very hard to get on the show, which is why I'm so excited to have all three of you here on the same one. This is crazy. It's like finding a unicorn. This is unbelievable. I can't believe I got all three at once. So
yeah, it's been wild, man. 2023 has been like testing and trying me, like, for real.
Eric's like, bring 24 on now, immediately.
Yeah, let's just jump to the next episode, next season.
Please. No, honestly, guys, I am just so gracious for you guys all to be here. All right, so I'll start first and foremost. I'm going to go to Eric. Eric, I've got to talk to you. What did you think of this show, the last episode, primarily? And guys, by all means, these shows do all bleed into each other. So we're here to talk about episode 7 primarily. But if you want to get into how something tied in, or if something relevant from episode 5 and 6 is why we're seeing a character act like we did in 7, please feel free to comment on that. But I love going around the table and getting overall impressions before we dig real deep into each character and the actual storyline.
Okay. Yeah. This episode, I think when we kind of get to the end and we kind of go back and think about the whole show as a whole, I think there'll be episodes that you kind of like cherry pick and kind of pull out as ones that kind of just hit you in the gut, like emotionally, like they're meant to kind of evoke and drive a certain feeling. And I think we definitely got that, like with the Bill and Frank episode. And we definitely got that, of course, with the Ellie and Riley episode. And what's been amazing, I think, about the show overall is, like Mooch, I'm like with you, like just a huge fan of the game, 1 and 2. And even knowing what is coming, they're doing this amazing job of sort of picking the right points from what we know of the game, but also kind of adding, the little high points, low points, the little flavors, sprinkling things in to where even though what's coming, it still hits you in the gut.
Absolutely.
Like a certain way. And this episode had that same vibe, that same feel, where they switched what needed to be switched and what worked. But then I think this episode, even more so than Bill and Frank's, it hit closer to what the game kind of laid out in most aspects. which
Yes.
I thought was like really cool. So
I agree.
But again, two amazing performances, you know, for essentially what are just two actresses kind of holding down the whole episode.
The whole
there's really no Joel, there's you know, like, and nothing like that. So yeah, again, just amazing performances. And I know we'll get further into it, but overall, I just thought they did once again a good job of translating what was so powerful from the game and bringing it into like a, you know, an hour of television. Because of course those scenes in the game are stretched out, those conversations are stretched out even further. So the parts that they just decided to pick, just again, evoke the emotion. And what I told you, what I'm doing is watching it with my wife, who has no idea of any of this stuff. She remembers me playing the game, but she didn't sit and watch me really do it. So the minute it goes off, I turn and just look at her, and she just sits there like with this look on her face, like, wow.
So, and that's what I wanted to. What is your wife's take on this? This is important, you know. And I said this on week 2, and shame on me, I haven't actually. It's hard to get someone to come on the show that hasn't played the game. But what is? Does she feel like the story is being told at a pace for some? Because we the four of us, we could fill in the blanks. If they miss something, we're like, oh, that's because of this, or that's because of that, or they didn't have to do this because this is on the way. But for someone who hasn't played the game a number of times, does she feel the pacing in the story is being told to where she understands the characters? You know what I mean? Like, I've always wondered if, because I always take a step back and I go, would I really know Joel if I didn't play the game that much? I would actually think maybe Joel's story's being shortened a bit. So, I mean, from somebody that hasn't played the game, is she enjoying the show, and is the show being done properly for someone that hasn't played the game?
I would say so, absolutely, because, and I think that's like, again, like the amazing point. What I've been kind of like doing with her, I thought at first, okay, well, I'll let her watch the show and then I'll show her some clips on YouTube of the actual game. I haven't done that with her. I just letting it like go. The only time I've done that with her was after the Sam and Henry episode, because they changed, you know, certain aspects of it. So I wanted her to see kind of how that whole thing, you know, kind of broke down, you know, with Sam turning and how that whole thing kind of played out. But in this case, she is like 100% on board. And trust me, my wife is very much like, if something's slow and not like really catching her, she's done. She's like, all right, you know, this is not, the pacing is way off.
Not interested, yeah.
And I'll give you an example of that. Like when we were watching The Witcher, she liked The Witcher, but this is one where she's like, are we watching The Last of Us? Where before it was like, you know, we were probably like a few episodes behind, you know, week to week on watching like The Witcher. And especially that first season, this is no knock on The Witcher. We both love the show, but it's just, she told me some of the pacing with that was throwing her off in the first season in particular, right?
I completely get it.
I 100% agree on that.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, because the first season I was like, are they time jumping? What the hell are they doing here? Anyway, so but on this, she's I haven't had her say to me yet that there's been a situation where she feels it's not moving at a pace, because I think what's happening is they're pulling her in, and in a way, like you said, you know, like, we know more about Joel at this point in the game than this sort of kind of unfolding, I guess you could kind of say, in certain aspects. Yeah. But it hasn't been a thing where she's been like, come on, let's get to the punch. Let's get to the punch. Her reaction more so is like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, how do you, like, that's crazy. Like how that unfolded, how that happened, you know, like, yeah. And then, you know, her thing is, well, he's not going to like with Joel, but he's not going to die. I'm like, not there. I don't know what they may do coming up, but in the next season, I said, but in
that's hard for you too, because you're like, you want to say what you want to say, but you can't.
Same thing. Like, I want to tell my wife too, but I'm like, no.
Nah, because you know why? Anyone who hasn't played the games, plural, they can enjoy this knowing they're going into the off season and everything's fine.
Yep,
everything's fine.
And what's great about it is, you know, and I'll let the other guys talk. I'm going to pass it off, but what's great about it is going in my head is going, what the hell are they going to do with season 2? Because they have the opportunity to stretch some things, or they can go right into it. I'm like, yeah, you know, so that's the best part about us having played the games, is not knowing how they're going to handle that. You know,
I agree. You know, and you know what? So let me piggyback off that. Bomber, I'll ask you real quick. So Eric kind of set that volleyball up for me. I got to ask you a question here. So first, I want to get your thought, your reactions on episode 7. But here we are. We have 2 episodes left, guys. 2.
Oh man, I know.
So this was what we just saw was the DLC Left Behind. So do you feel we have enough time to get what's left, which is the hospital, Winter, David?
No. There's no way. There's no way in my
How are they doing that in 2 episodes? And the last episode, guys, I'll remind you, is 43 minutes.
And that's why I feel like they're gonna push the first game into season 2. Like the actual ending of season, like the ending of one will be in season 2.
You're the first to say that to me, Bomber.
Like that's what I've been feeling, because it's the spacing's been like you said, like the way they have been doing this pacing and everything. I think it's great. I only played the game one time. I didn't go back and replay it, so like I may not be probably the best as far as like knowing every little detail that ever happened in the game with this, but I have loved it up until, I mean, there's a couple episodes I'm just like, but this last one was pretty cool. I mean, it really kind of piggyback off what Eric said, was just like you had 2 really good actresses doing their thing.
Yeah.
And did a really good job at portraying this great friendship that nobody knew about.
Right.
If you don't know, and all of a sudden it's like, crap, you don't want that to go away. So it's like they did amazing in that regard, and just the setting, all that. It worked. It definitely worked. It worked pretty well.
I agree.
But it also tied in, going back to Joel, because everything went back to Joel, with Joel. And so it's like, that's a big scene. We all know that's a huge scene, especially for people that have not played the game. This is huge. Everybody's like, holy crap, is he going to die? Like, what's going on? Like, he's got to protect her. He hasn't shown her enough to be on her own. She doesn't know anything else.
She said in the episode before, she said, without you, I'm dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which is, I mean, we all know that's true. 100%.
100%.
Like granted, she is strong, but not yet. Like, she ain't what she becomes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, this whole show has done very well for me, and I don't like the zombie stuff. Like, I've never have. That's why it took me forever to play this freaking game. But it's not zombies. Like, it is different. And I do like the way they tie in just the, I guess just the humility of it. Like not just the, here comes a whole bunch of monsters all the freaking time. That's cool, because it looks amazing and it makes for great TV and excitement. But it also, those connections, the emotional connection you have, yes. I think that's stronger, and that's even with the video game. To me, that's stronger than the infected. The infected are just there to be a bother, to be honest.
Well, so I've got to. So there you go. I love it how I just asked for a review, and then each of you kind of leads a good one. BRAP, this kind of segues right into it, and we had this discussion, and this got really kind of. I wouldn't use the word heated, but it got into a very, very deep discussion last week on the show, where they were saying basically the infected, the world, some people feel they're not doing a great job of making us feel like that's a danger, right? We haven't seen enough infected. We're not seeing raiders be that aggressive. And again, we are comparing this to the game, right? And some like myself are comparing the world to like The Walking Dead on the first, I don't know, 3 seasons, when the world was dangerous, period. So what do you think, BRAP, over all of episode 7? And then you just piggyback off what Bomber said. I mean, are they doing a good enough job here, even with the mall scene, to make you feel like there's a threat on the outside? And thanks to Fabrizi, I appreciate that super chat. Thank you so much. Shout out to Cult Classic Cage too for being here. I appreciate that. And Viewmaster617 says, I can't get over Mooch looking like DJ Alchemist. Now I gotta Google it.
Funny.
I'll take it though.
Funny, man.
Why not?
DJ Alchemist. That's
not?
Great. That's great.
What do you think, BRAP?
I mean, which is better than someone saying you look like a clicker, right?
Yes. I don't think I look like that DJ at all, but nonetheless, BRAP, what do you think?
So, with regards to like the world, like not being zombified enough, I guess, in the in the TV show. So here's the thing. I think what they're doing, like, again, 2 different entertainment mediums here. TV allows for more in-depth storytelling, right? Allows you to flesh out the characters more.
Yeah.
Allows you to have more of an emotional connection. Like, you really can't do that in a video game because, like, Kojima's kind of tried that a little bit, and with Metal Gear, and he's been criticized. Oh, who wants to play a movie, right? Like there's that.
Right.
So TV allows for them. TV's movies allow for them to really kind of flesh out these characters, build out the story more, and I think that's what they're doing. Like I mean, I don't know. I almost feel like having zombies all the time and having them run for their lives, like that would break up the storytelling to me for the TV show.
Okay.
And I don't think they need to do that. I think we saw early on, like they established, hey, this world's a mess. I mean, you look at like what happened to Tess. You look at the scene where they're trying to escape. It's not Pittsburgh in the it's Kansas City, I think, right?
Kansas City.
Kansas City, yeah.
You see the end there. Remember that scene where all the infected come out of the ground. And I was
that was amazing.
I was like, whoa, like that's like some World War Z shit right there. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was. No, but it was World War Z stuff.
And you just and they never had anything at that scale in the video game. And it just made you think, like, look, at any point, at any time, these things can just come out, and they'll come out in the woodwork, and they'll just overrun humanity. That threat's still there. I never, as I've watched this show, Mooch, like I've always kind of been at the edge of my seat, thinking at any time an infected could come out, or multiple infected, or a clicker could come out and just wreck shop. And but so I don't have an issue with that. I like the fact that they're kind of building out the story and building out these characters and these relationships and very in ways that you just can't do in a video game. But to episode 7, and this is kind of the prequel to, or not the, well, basically the DLC content for The Last of Us Part 1. And actually, I played a little bit of that and didn't finish it, but I thought they did a great job of building out the relationship, the dynamic, and really, this is kind of just setting up and giving us a little more depth to who Ellie is as a character, right?
Absolutely.
Like why she's kind of angry, why she's very, I mean, she's very calloused, very. I mean, and look and rightfully so. Look what's happened to her, since leaving Fedra, the Fedra Academy.
That's right.
She never really experienced loss up until that or love really up until that scene at the ball. And the first person think about this for a second, like think about like being in like an apocalyptic world where there's chaos, where Fedra is supposed to be protecting you, are doing things that are questionable. They're having public hangings.
Yes.
There's people are shoveling human feces.
Yeah.
Remember, go back to Joel. Remember that? Remember the burning of the bodies.
Oh yeah, burning of the bodies.
Remember the kids?
Yeah.
Well, Riley even said that was one of the positions.
Because she goes, this is what they cared. This is what they think about me versus what Fireflies thought. Yeah,
correct. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Riley said that. She's like, my first assignment was watching people clean out the sewers, and then you look at the federal officer was hooked on oxycodone or some kind of pill, right? Mm-hmm. You look at the guy they found dead. So you start connecting all these things in the world that are going on, right? And you got to take a step back and just think about our world that we live in today. And we have it pretty good, Mooch. I think we have it pretty good. I mean, I mean, like I look at your background, Mooch. I mean, your room probably smells of rich mahogany and probably a leather-bound books. And
I was gonna wear a robe and smoke a pipe. I figured that was inappropriate for tonight. Yeah. Eric
in the background's got a C1 OLED.
Years. And look at Eric. I was gonna say multiple years of collections, right, and things like that.
Yeah. Eric. I mean, Eric's got my favorite poster in the background there, the McFarlane Titanfall, which I have too, hanging right here. And then you look at Bomber. Bomber's got his beard. It's always well groomed and
it's got to.
I mean, look, yeah. I mean, imagine Bomber's beard in The Last of Us, right? I mean, it'd be a mess. You'd have squirrels growing in there. I mean,
hey, I don't know that one dude was I don't remember.
Yeah, with
dude that was helping that chick. Yeah, but he got his head ripped off. So I mean, maybe having a good looking beard may not be a good thing there.
Maybe not. But so think about like our world. Like we have in our world, it's hard. Love is hard, even in the world we live in now.
Right.
So just put that out. I mean, people get married, they get divorced, people go through bad relationships, and I'm talking about the world we live in today.
Right.
But so think about now put yourself in the shoes of Ellie as a character in a post-apocalyptic world where there's these infected and humanity's been turned upside down, and the idea of love, like, is that even a thought? The first thought is probably survival. The first thought is probably like, where's my next meal? You know, my first thought is like Joel. You look what happened to Joel. You think about when he talks to Tommy, the things they had to do, all these things, and I bring all these things up. I know these are past episodes. All these things, they all connect. They all connect together.
Brap, that's why I said that. Don't go ahead and bring up the other episodes, Brap, because they do intertwine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the point, right?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Right.
And so, like when I think about the criticism of not having enough infected, I'm like, well, that would take away from that emotional connection and building out these characters and trying to convey this emotion that the game just can't. The game for a video game does a great job. I mean, I don't dispute that. But they're taking it to another level because TV affords them the opportunity to do that. But you think about that the mall scene. I think about Ellie, and it's like you could see they're dancing. They got the mask on and everything, and you see her for a minute. She's having fun, and then you could see her pause while she's wearing the wolf mask.
Yeah,
and you could tell something. You know what's really what I found brilliant about that scene? Her body language conveyed her emotion, even with a mask on.
Yes,
it's like you could tell, like she's like. You could feel like the sense of like sadness, almost pain conveying through her body language. She takes off her mask and she realizes that, God, this is the first time that I've experienced love. And little does she know that that's going to be snatched away from her like that. And that's the brutality of the world they live in.
Yeah.
And I thought that episode was great at conveying that. Like it was kind of like he said, there's been a lot of moments in the series that have been a punch in the gut. And that was one of them. I knew, even though I knew what was going to happen, it was still a punch in the gut. And I thought to myself, God, imagine like if I was someone who'd never watched the show and I'm watching this, and for me, there's still emotion. And I knew what was going to happen. I was just waiting for that moment for that, for the infected to come out and attack them. Yeah. But I thought it was a very powerful scene. And I think, again, it just speaks to what I think is a really good job at just fleshing out these characters and bring a lot of emotion to the characters and story above and beyond what the game's already done. So I haven't, for me, like there hasn't been a bad episode in this. Like, look, there's been some other episodes that I would say were better, but I can't say, I can't look at one episode and said, oh, this episode is terrible.
Each of these episodes is going to hit everybody a bit different. And like you said, Brap, a few of them were very heavy in story, and some people thought that they missed opportunities with some of the stories to maybe expand them, not with what they showed, but to go a step further. I want to say shout out real quick to the Floyd is here. Shout out to Dark Optimus who joined us last week. Guys, I will be putting your comments up on screen, so please do share them. But Brap, you know what? I like what you just said too. So I guess I'll go full circle. I'll go to Eric because Brap brought up a good point. Brap, outstanding breakdown, by the way, of the emotional roller coaster of last night's episode. But you know what, Eric, the question I have to ask, because we ask it every week, but I noticed a few things, especially at the end there, of course, when Ellie was bit, Riley was bit. We saw a different ending in the game to that, unless my memory on that DLC is wrong, which I have no problem being wrong. But what did you think about how they abruptly ended it in the show, where they were both sitting there? We knew what the outcome was. I mean, you might go, well, Mooch, come on. Do they have to spell everything out for you? No, but to see that next step or whatever happened, how did Ellie handle Riley when she turned? Did she leave before she turned? Did she do and again, I'll use Walking Dead. When you had a loved one that was bit and you knew they were going to turn, generally it was the brother, the mother, the father, the sister that ended the life because they wanted them to go in peace. So did you like the way they ended it? I would say I'll almost agree with like Brap here and say I'll call it a very artistic way to kind of move forward. Or did you want to see a little bit more of that? And maybe even for fans that haven't played the game, that are enjoying the show, would see just it adds a level of brutality to the world.
It actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty much beat for beat, kind of how they end the DLC. That even the conversation that they're having with Riley giving her like our options, and not liking option one. It's sort of like that's sort of the cop out, but the fear is like, we could turn into these things, but at the same time, it's like I'm willing to kind of go that route because it means more time just being with you. So however that goes, I think it's kind of still, and the chat can correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while since I played it, but I remember it sort of being like they decide like however it goes, maybe it's that decision of, well, we'll either turn together or if one of us is left, we'll take care of the other type of thing. Because of course, you know, Riley never knows that Ellie's, you know, immune. Ellie doesn't even know that she's immune at this point. So that conversation is almost beat for beat.
Right.
Like, you know, that they just kind of like, they kind of pulled, even like a lot of it was like beat for beat. The thing that they kind of switched up was, I think in the DLC, there were more runners after them. Than just the one. But this kind of goes back to what BRAP was saying. I think what's been brilliant about the show. And I know some people may feel like there's not enough with the clickers and everything. And I'm like, I think by design, maybe this is by design, but if not, it's a happy accident. The examples that they've given you, you know, in different episodes of runners, clickers, and then introducing a bloater, you know, and everything. Mm-hmm. They don't have to give you constant reminders because anytime that those have shown up, the tension has been insane. So, you know, the world is like, at any moment, you can turn a corner and there is this thing. So what it kind of does is, what I'm kind of picking up on and what kind of drives my wife crazy, because she's like, they're making too much noise. You know, it's like her thing. Like, they're talking too much.
One of my questions. Yes.
Right. So in my head, as playing the games, you know, we're always like expecting in the game to be attacked by something. It's sort of this thing of where you're not in danger until you are in danger. It's sort of that, you know, I like being in their world is sort of like they know their world is sort of this part is cleaned out, or this part is, you know, there's always that danger, but we're just going to kind of live and do our thing. But I think they've given examples of you don't want to run into this thing. So when these moments happen, like, you know, Riley being bitten and Ellie being bitten, you don't need to necessarily see like a swarm or have clickers or runners every episode to remind you of what you could become or what could happen. They're constantly reminding you, like, oh shit, you know, like it's a wrap, you know, because even like Sam was like, do you think, you know, the person is still inside, you know, this thing, because you're just looking at this hollow creature that has like, doesn't seem to have any thought, but to them showing it to us as writers, they showed us, no, there's a whole thought process behind this thing, which they haven't even explained more of, which is what one of the changes that they made, which I thought was brilliant, was the fungus. It's not airborne, it's network connected. So you could touch it in one area and then like miles away it could feel it. So that's a whole thing that they still have to kind of work with and develop. But that added another layer of fear to this world for us as viewers, you know? So.
No, I agree. And you know, I like the way Eric kind of put that. A couple of super chats here. Shout out to Viewmasters. You know, Bomber or BRAP. By the way, guys, I'm going round table. If you guys really want to chime in.
Yeah, I want to chime in real quick. But
I was going. Go ahead, and I got something too.
All right. Well, the question, if you don't mind, chime in on what Eric was just saying, BRAP. But also, Viewmaster makes a good question here. He says, "Have you guys ever felt like Riley and Marlene could be related?" And that's interesting because she was able to lure her away from Fedra to the Fireflies, and it did seem like Ellie was a bit taken off guard. Like, it didn't seem like something they had planned. They had always talked about how Fedra was corrupt, not doing things the right way. We need new leadership, right? But never did. It looks like Ellie was taken by surprise when she said, "I joined the Fireflies," and she's like, "You did?" She's like, "No, you didn't." "No, I did." You know what I mean? So, BRAP, go ahead. Add your segment there, but I wanted to know if we could also maybe tackle a thought on Viewmaster's point.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think to Eric's point about not having all these runners, I mean, just the atmosphere, the environment they're in, and you look at Boston, the buildings toppled over. I mean, there's visual reminders, even if you don't see a runner or a bloater or a clicker, that the world's bad. It's in a bad place. I mean, that is visually, and not just you know, danger from you know, the infected, but danger from humanity. That's the other thing. Like that's I feel like a lot of emphasis has been placed on the infected, but look at like the Raiders. You look at, you know, the episode with Bill and when they attack his compound. You look at you know what Fedra was doing. There's all these visual reminders that the world, just in general, outside of, you know, the clickers or the infected, is dangerous. And so I agree there. They don't have to have, you know, runners at every episode, like 50 runners chasing someone to remind you that
you
the
don't
world's
have
dangerous,
to
because you could see it.
You don't have to have the 50 runners. I completely agree with you, Brad. But the thing about it though is there's a part of me, and that's something I'm coming to terms with. I'm thinking this is a post-apocalyptic world. We should be getting that same kind of urgency and scare that we got in, again, I'm saying the first three seasons of like Walking Dead. But the way that they're telling this, and shout out to who it was, I think it was Brian East in the chat. He said, Mooch, they said early on that the infected wasn't necessarily the focal point of the main fear in this world. And that may be the case. And that's something I got to wrap my mind around.
I mean, if you look at, I don't want to spoil the second game. Never mind. I don't, because the second game kind of, I think.
I know. There's a lot you want to say. And you're
it builds upon that. It's like, you don't need to only fear the infected is what I'm saying. I think 2 builds on that, but
absolutely. Bomber, go ahead and chime in. Bomber, I know you got a point on this too.
Well, kind of going back to like why, how it ended the way it ended in the last episode with them just sitting next to each other, then it just pans to her and Joel.
Yes.
And everybody's like, okay, what do they do? Like you said, what did they do? Well, if you remember when the episode when Joel's getting choked out by that one militia guy and Ellie ends up shooting him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he asked her, is this the first time you've killed somebody? She said no. And then she wouldn't talk about it because she said, I don't want to talk about it. So could that be that she had to kill her?
Mm.
Maybe she stayed with her because you got to think she had that strong connection with Riley. I don't think she would leave her. That's my personal opinion. Like, I don't think she would leave her even if she did turn, because she would just be like, fine, she'll just kill me then. If that's the case, who cares? I'll just die with her. But I think maybe she saw that, she eventually sees it. Maybe we see that in the next episode. I don't know. Maybe they do pan back at it where that's the emotional roller coaster that she has to deal with, that she had to, off her friend before, because she realizes, hey, she's immune. You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't know.
Bomber, this is what you were alluding to. You said it, so Ellie has said in past episodes. Remember she was saying this. Was it episode? It was before they met up with Sam and Henry, and she, he said that you're a kid. You shouldn't have to have dealt with killing anybody. Yep. And she goes, "It's not my first time."
Yeah, it's not my first time. Exactly. So that's why, and that's why I feel like, is this the first time? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be, but then also that's also shows the first time she killed an infected. So it's like, it kind of gives you why she was able to know where to, stab one of them in the head before, she did it. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of, it's pretty cool. And the way they are setting it up, I think they're doing a brilliant job, even though there's a few things like, again, I still think the spores would have been cooler, but hey, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I guess I will say technically the whole connected network, like you were talking about, is technically scarier, because if you think about it, that's the only reason why this runner came after him, is because that one felt it and heard it. So it sent something after it. So, I think that's part of that. I mean, maybe,
yeah.
And plus it's, it gives you that sense of no matter where you're at in this place, you could feel like this, like Riley's been in there for weeks, right? Like she's been in there.
She was sleeping
never
there.
seen it. Yeah. Sleeping there. Never seeing anything, never heard anything. So she never, she's like, this is empty. Well, out of nowhere, boom. The night that, you're trying to say goodbyes or whatever, you're getting jumped by this thing. So it's like, you're never safe. Kind of like what BRAP said, you're safe until you're not.
When they found that dead body that was there because it had overdosed on pills and drinking, remember they have a bottle. Yeah. I'm still thinking the same way you're thinking. I understand there's no spores, so it's not airborne. But when they're sitting there and they get right up in his face, I'm like, how do you know? And she even said, Riley said he wasn't there 2 days ago.
Yeah, he wasn't here last night or whatever it was.
Last night. So I would have been like, this thing could be turning as we speak. Like step away from it, or the first thing you would do is like put something to the head, because you want to make sure it doesn't attack you. But again, that didn't seem to bother them there at all. So you had mentioned noise again, and so did Eric. I got the great Sir X Basics. Looking at Mooch makes me feel super old. Thanks, Mooch. You are forever young, Sir X, man. Don't you ever forget that. You are awesome and outstanding. The great Sir X-Man is here with us tonight. Also got a super chat here. Is it Sheffield Sphere? Hope I'm saying that right. He said, I think it's the fans who place the emphasis, pardon me, on the infected. I think that Joel's cold persona and highly, I think he was going for highly needed skills, are their ways of reminding people. So there's definitely something to that. I agree with you. I do think the infected is so you're saying the gamers are the ones that are being they're being a little bit more tough on the fact that we're not seeing so much infected. I think, yeah, right.
I mean, Eric, gamers want to complain about everything, man.
Well, the thing is, if you think about it,
I just thought like there's no way Bill would be going shot for shot in the middle of the. It's like, oh god, that's what you guys are stuck on right now. It's like everything else that's going on in this episode, that's what we're stuck on.
I will say in that episode, he should have came out there with a bolt action rifle, though. Just saying, with his arsenal he had, that's probably the last gun I'd go for.
That was his confidence and his setup,
right?
Around
Bill's like, I think Bill just went out there like a madman. He's like, I'm going to grab the first weapon that I come across. I'm just going to go out there and let people have it.
I'm poking fun, but I did find that kind of interesting that he was like, man, he's just in the middle of the street like firing.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I said, Bill's got some balls.
But it didn't annoy me. But I thought it was interesting. It didn't annoy me, but I thought it was interesting. But I don't want to skate past something Bomber brought up because I think there is something that's going to tie into this with Ellie saying that she had to kill someone before, and like I said, the way she and Riley decided, I don't want option one of us just taking each other out. Let's just spend this moment. So I'm thinking she maybe had to take care of Riley because let's not forget the first episode. We're starting off with Marlene having Ellie in custody.
Yes.
Chained up, that wasn't in the game that way. She just shows, she has Ellie, she gives her over, and then they go off on their own. This one, they're like interrogating her and making sure there's something. So, hey, this girl was bit. So I'm wondering, going off what Bomber said, if they happen upon them and see that, hey, Ellie had to do whatever she had to do to Riley, but you were bitten in this whole thing. So I think that might be something that they could kind of tie into as well,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I shout out to Brian East here. This is a great point, too, because these are the small differences, right? He said, heard somebody complaining that Joel didn't fall on the rebar, right? As in the game. Druckmann explained in the post-episode podcast that he needed an injury that looks severe to a person who eats bullets regularly in a game. So, yeah, how do you think that outside of the differential there, in the way that the fight was exchanged between the game and the show, I thought they nailed everything else. I love, there's symbolism between the game and the show that I have to always say every week. And Brian, thanks for bringing this up. I love how they showed Joel fall off the horse there, because that's the first time in the game we're seeing weaknesses. We saw Joel and Tommy's dialogue last week, and you saw him say, I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I fail even in my dreams. I'm failing in life. We're seeing different sides of a weaker side of Joel throughout this show. But the first time I ever saw Joel in air quotes weak was when he fell off that horse after that fight in university. So I thought they nailed that. And also you saw the emotions coming through at this point. This is where
anxiety attacks.
Say again?
Oh, yeah.
Remember his anxiety attacks.
Even
yeah, so we didn't see that in the game either.
Oh,
right.
But
that's like real. That's them throwing it in, because in this world, wouldn't you, what he's been through, he's never had to he's kind of moved past, and I wouldn't say move past what happened with Sarah. He's always got that with him, but here he is now faced with having to possibly live it again. So everything you've done in the world, living in this world, surviving in this world, now I've been tasked with, here I am trying to, protect and save this, this young girl again. I don't know if I can go through that. So that anxiety shit will be real.
Yeah, I mean, I think that triggers that trauma for him, which the anxiety task, like him kind of clutching his chest. Those are physiological responses to that trauma, and I think that the fact they show that in the show, I think just adds more weight to what Joel's gone through as a character. You don't get that in the video game per se, at that level.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people get upset the way he got injured. I think it's brilliant. The reason being is because you've seen him, this character, be pretty much a badass from day one.
Yeah.
Whooping people with freaking ARs, whooping ever freaking sniping like a freaking Marine, like freaking Navy SEALs, just just picking off people left and right. All the infected, not hitting anything else but infected. Like he's just popping off, and then he goes and gets jumped by some random dude with a bat.
Yep.
And that's how he gets injured. It's kind of like one of those, like, you're safe until you're not. Like, yeah, he has all these big threats, the infected, all that. He's been fine, but then this dude with a bat is what's going to, bring him down to, bring him to his knees. It's kind of, to me, I think that symbolizes a lot more personally than falling on a rebar or whatever. I think this actually sets it up to me a little bit better than even in the game personally. And that's kind of how I kind of like the first episode too, with Sarah. Sarah was a main focus in the episode, which is great because you felt for her. Where to me in the game, I didn't care. Like I was like, okay, she died, whatever. But in the show, it was like, this sucks. So it's like,
I gotta give credit. There's a lot of people having this discussion in the chat right now. And Bomber, you said something that holds a lot of water. Some people are saying they felt. Shout out to the great Matty Beast. Matty Beast thought that it was a bit cheapened in how Joel went down versus what we saw in the game. But I've got to turn around and say that I kind of agree with Bomber in a sense. Think about it, Matty Beast. If you even watch Saving Private Ryan, okay? So I'm just trying to think of pick any war film you want to pick out there. You always think it's going to be a bullet or it's this, but sometimes it's just you're walking past something and you get cut with rusted metal, right? And you have no way of getting to help, and you end up dying from tetanus. Right. It's not all, and I'm literally picking that out of thin air. I'm just trying to say, like, there's it's not always how you think it's going to go down, right? Now, the rhubarb scene, you might go, well, Mooch, no one would think they're going to fall 2-3 stories to their death and land on rhubarb. That's true too. That's true. But I think whether it's falling on a piece of rhubarb or somebody coming and attacking you with a sharp object, and it's a close battle. These guys were neck to neck, face to face, and he jammed it in. He got it right in there. I could see that. So I don't think they cheapened it at all. I think that was a good point by Bomber. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I want to piggyback what you guys are saying. I think it actually reinforces what the conversation Joel had with Tommy. Like, actually, with no one else would Joel ever talk to somebody about, but admitting to Tommy, like, I let this guy get the slip on me because I couldn't hear him coming, and I'm getting older, and I'm getting weaker, and I'm getting like all these different things, right? And so you look at the parallel of the game. We spend, by this point in the game, we spent how many hours with Joel just beating the shit out of everything, taking down clickers, doing all this stuff. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to fall 2 stories onto, a pole and be impaled, and us go, yeah, that's believable, and Ellie being able to get him like up and off and go take care of him, right? Which we never see in the game, but you just suspend disbelief that she was able to get him up and get him out of there. It's a little bit more believable that he got caught slipping. He let this guy, like, he's wrestling with this guy, and this guy got one past him, because he just said to his brother, I'm not as quick or as, strong as I used to be. I
used to be, yeah.
So that, again, talk about switching some things up and doing some storytelling. I think that's a pretty believable way. Like you said, Mooch, just like, you get in the shower when you're like, when the hell did I get cut? Right. Because
what's that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's the thing that takes you out. Paper cuts into the head.
Take you out. It's not always the obvious. Sheffield's Felix, he says, Bill is a perfect example. He wouldn't move with such stupid tactics, but add in someone who he loves dearly. Pardon me, I'm reading it for like long distance. And we get a full display of stupid humanity. Again, there's emotions that play a role. So, Sheffield Sphere, I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I like where you're going with this. Because think about it. Joel was cold-blooded. Mm-hmm. He had no reason to live anymore, right? He really just didn't care. He was taking orders, doing what he was doing. Now, all of a sudden, Eric makes a point. Now
Joel was popping pills.
Right, but now he's got a reason to live. He's got something to lose again. And it does make you slip, right? And that's what Sheffield's Fear is saying here, stupid humanity, right? All of a sudden, you will make a mistake. And then you also add on top of that what Eric said, where Joel said he's getting older. He doesn't have the reflexes he used to. That's why he gave credit to Tommy there. Although, I got to be honest with you, for some reason, if they're both at 100% health, I still think Joel wins that fight.
Oh, for sure, every time.
I still think Joel beats Tommy. No offense, Tommy.
Yeah, but
No,
Tommy's
great
a crack
point
shot
there.
with that rifle, though, man.
If Tommy sees him coming, I'm sorry. It's almost like
Yeah,
a
right.
Batman
Again,
situation. If he knows it's coming, sorry, Tommy.
Well,
wins.
Yeah,
Mamba
don't want to give again. Don't want to give again too many spoilers for episode 2, but man, that Tommy with that rifle, man.
Hey, but then
Yeah.
again,
Tommy's getting busy.
Hey,
Yeah.
Joel showed off his sniping skills though pretty quick.
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
This is true.
Hey, Mooch, real quick, man. One thing I was going to say is
go ahead.
There's symbolism in this game, especially the TV show, the TV show. The knife, right? That Ellie carries, and you look at like this last episode where she uses this knife to kill this runner, and then she's always when she has it out, she's always looking at it, and it's almost like she's reflecting about what's happened with that knife, right? Where she had to kill that runner. She also, and I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, finds that runner buried under a rubble, and she could have just easily walked away. And now it makes sense. Now, after watching this episode, now it makes sense to me. Now I understand why she killed that runner that was buried on the rubble. It was kind of like that memory going back, and that anger of what was taken away from her by the infected, and she killed it. I was like, why? Yeah, right, Bob. I was about to say she knew exactly where to go.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of interesting. Again, we talk about like there's the episodes and everything that's happening. Everything they're connecting a lot of dots to a lot of the to what motivates the characters in this show.
No, absolutely. I want to get back to the noise factor. These are the things that bother me, and maybe the infected. I mean, they're not deaf or hard of hearing. They can hear as well. I mean, when Riley turned on the entire mall, I said, I was right there. I agree with the missus. I'm like,
especially the arcade, man.
Can we?
Yeah, right. I was like,
turn the volume down a little bit, and not just that. I mean, I would have lit up sections of the mall.
She's like, the whole thing.
And by the way, where's that mall? I haven't seen that much RGB lights. Okay.
Oh, I have Mooch in your room.
I was gonna say, unless I turn
Right
around
behind you.
Right. But I mean, that was on purpose. What mall was this? Was this a mall from 1987? I mean, that thing was lit up
was
like
a nice touch. They put aha in there, like the 80s music touch.
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I tell you what, they did that set design was fantastic because
it really was.
They really did a great job of encapsulating like a mall, I gotta say back then, right? But I mean, there are real retail stores that we can all identify with. Gap,
GameStop,
Victoria's Secret. I mean, come on, that was hilarious. Dude, that was funny. She was like sneakers. They went after that, but
yeah,
was like,
Foot Locker was there. There was Target. There was, I don't know if you guys saw the Target sign. There was a Victoria's Secret, which I thought was kind of funny.
They had the Victoria's Secrets. They had Panda Express, CVS.
I swear that was a Best Buy logo way off in the distance, but they didn't show the actual logo, but it looked like the big yellow ticket.
Could have very well.
Yeah. The GameStop was there, which actually looks like GameStop right now. I mean,
shout out to GameStop. Come on, I still go out. I still go out there.
Forte's going to magically appear right now because I said
when I do finally, BRAP goes and buys the DualSense Edge. I want that controller badly.
Get back there, Mooch.
Buddy, I know you sent me like unbelievable pictures of the damn thing. I can't wait to actually get and now it's for sale at Best Buy and GameStop, I believe, and Amazon. You can get it on Amazon as well, I believe. So, but like I said, I always still support my local GameStops. There's a crap ton of them, but I mean, like that's why everyone. It's funny being in New York. You don't really see the shortages of stores. Like, yes, do they close? Occasionally, one will close, but there's just so many of them. I still feel like GameStop's they're alive and well where I am. It doesn't mean it's the same everywhere. That's not true.
No, they closed the one where I live. There was one literally
a
mile from my house. Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't like I think for like big releases, like you would see people there, but like I could walk in that store on a given day and there was like no one there. So I mean, I get it.
No, I understand. And everything going
for
digital.
Me, but
I hear you.
I got like 4 in my area, and only one of them closed, only because they were right across the street from each other at one point.
Oh, what?
that one was
take your pick of which one you want. Literally across the street. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? Yeah.
So, the other thing I thought that was interesting too was the conversation that had going on after. I think they called it the Riley called it the 4 wonders of the mall. It was the carousel ride. So they nailed the carousel ride. There's the photo booth, the arcade, and the Halloween shop. Right. Those are my
shout
notes.
out to that arcade too, man. Because just like in the game, you just go, oh man. I just remember, man.
Yeah, some people never know the good times of an arcade, man. Because every once in a while, when people go, even younger folks now will be like, "Oh no, there's arcades in the mall." Yeah, but ain't nobody there.
The funniest part is she's like, "You got some money." And
right.
She's like, "Go look over there." It's like a whole bunch of cash. She's like, "I don't need that shit. Where's the coins?"
Yeah. Remember the guy walking around used to have the coin belt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The coin belt.
You got the swipe cards.
That guy had more power in the mall than anybody else, as far as I was concerned.
I thought it was cool. They actually had like real arcade cabinets there. Although it was funny, like, did you guys see Tetris? The R was backwards.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So it was Tetris, but the R was backwards.
Is that to avoid copyright, or
I guess they probably didn't get the okay to have the game there, but they did have this what's it called? Was it Daytona 500 or? They had a Sega
Daytona
game.
500. Yeah,
they had that.
Acting like she was driving, and then she never drove it, which is where I thought was weird, just because that's kind of why she wanted the coin. She was like, "Ooh, I want to do this," but then never did it. They just played.
Exactly.
For like 5 hours.
And then Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat there was really cool.
But you know what? I want to go back to this one point. I've got to ask you guys this question here. So ultimately, real quick answer: just Fedra or Fireflies? Which of the two is, in your opinion, Eric? I'm just you can't. No, we'll get into the deeper answer in a second. If you had to pick, Eric, which one is the more wholesome or more humane group? I have a follow up. I have a follow up to move on from here.
That's like who's worse, the donkeys or the elephants, if you know what I mean.
Oh
yeah, because if you remember,
I mean, Bomber, right? I think Bomber got that reference. I mean,
I hear you.
It's like
here you are.
I
So
don't even think people know the donkeys and the elephants anymore, man.
That's so true.
No, you probably don't.
Left or my right? My left or my right? Yeah.
No, the reason I asked there's no. By the way, guys, this is a trick question. There's really no wrong answer here.
That's a great question.
No, but it's a good question for the fact that, again, we want to call back to a prior episode. Was it episode 5? I think when what was her name? The leader of
that militia, or whatever. I can't remember the name. I can't remember her name either. She's in
the post show. I think they had the conversation.
They didn't say what the militia was. It was in the Kansas City Mob or Kansas City Raiders.
No, but he said the Kansas City Mob.
I don't know.
Was it the Kansas City Chiefs? Is that who they were?
Is that like a? Go ahead, Eric.
The KC masterpieces.
Yeah. Those folks. Yeah.
No, but they kind of had. There was kind of like that conversation around that when revolutionaries, uprise, take over, but then they gain the power, but then they become just as worse as the thing that was there before. So it's sort of like that thing. Now, if you just ask me to choose one, because I look at who's having more fun, who's kind of just a little bit more free of doing whatever, I'm gonna go Firefly, because they just seem to sort of be, we're gonna go blow some shit up today. Where Fedra sort of like, we're government, we're got air conditioning in the summer, warmth in the winter,
right?
Like,
let's not mess this up.
We're like senators, we got the better insurance, the 6-figure salary.
That's right.
You guys, go figure out your insurance. Go, do all the stuff.
You're not wrong.
Want to do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's sort of like, I don't know. I guess that'd be a Firefly. Plus, I got the cool name. It's a Fedra, Firefly. Cool tattoo, cool logo.
That's true. They do have a cool logo.
So you would say Firefly is the more humane group? No, you said Fedra. Pardon me.
No, let's say Firefly.
You did say Firefly. Okay.
Fighting for something, they're trying
fighting for something. They got a reason. They got a reason to fight. Okay, so BRAP, how about you?
Oh, Mooch, this is a tough question, man.
I know, but think about it. No matter whether you're talking about game or the show, I've always asked this question to myself, because in the beginning of the game, we were told the Fireflies were the worst thing in the world, right? And then when you start hanging out with some of the Fireflies, they're like, well, Fedra is the worst thing in the world.
One man's patriot is another man's terrorist. So it's
it's all a matter of perspective.
It's all a matter of perspective. But I mean, I'm going to base it on the TV show, what we've seen so far, and what I played in the game. I think that Fedra, because they were tasked to protect people, to kind of maintain some kind of civility. They just that hasn't happened.
Yep.
And part because there's no checks and balances anymore. So now you have basically what seems to be like an authoritarian regime controlling people. And look, I mean, come on, they were burning bodies, they were hanging people in public. And look, I if you look at out of them ruling kind of with the iron fist, out of that was the Fireflies were born.
Right.
And so
they created that.
Yeah, but I mean, let's face it, Fireflies probably have done things that aren't necessarily good either. Like, and Ellie kind of challenges that. Like, were you going to kill me? Would you have killed me? Would they have blown up the place that I'm sleeping in? And so there's that dynamic. There's collateral damage there that she's probably referring to, where people probably have been killed. But yeah, I mean, if you had to, if I had to like give you a definitive answer, I would probably lean more Fedra because of what they did. We know if you play the game, I mean, they were doing things that were inhumane, and even though they were tasked with kind of keeping order, they did so in ways that were very questionable.
You gave the reverse answer, but you're with Eric. You're saying the Fireflies are the more humane, more morale group.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you out, Brap.
Yeah.
You go Fedra, you get Starbucks because they said they had Starbucks.
They just say
right. You come over to the Fireflies, we got chicken sandwiches, man. Ellie had that nice looking chicken sandwich.
That's true.
I haven't seen a Eric, I haven't seen a sandwich look that good in this world we're in. That sandwich was amazing.
Hey, she was able to eat it for 2 days too. So
then you look at here's the thing. Then you look at like where Tommy is, and that's where I'd want to be.
Now,
let's go.
That's where I want to be.
Jackson.
Yeah,
I would be because I do think that there's. I mean, like, why did Tommy leave the Fireflies? Right.
Well, because he's kind of like what Joel has said. He's a savior. So if you don't feel like he can do any more, then he shows that he can. Then he's out. He's going to go save something else.
That's
Hence why he was so quick to go ahead and say, "Fine, I'll take Ellie."
Yeah.
Until Ellie said, "No."
But I to me, like,
how wild was that, though, Bomber? How wild?
Oh, dude.
Like, he's like, "Oh, dude, it was my brother." And he goes and sees Tommy. He's like, "This son of a bitch is living."
Oh yeah.
Tommy's like, "I can save you."
But I do think the Fireflies though run the risk of becoming what they fought against, initially.
Yeah.
And I think and I only say that from just the perspective of playing the second game too. Like you could clearly they're willing to do things, and this goes back to the Last of Us, the first game, to do things to, in their mind, save humanity. You know what they want to do with Ellie, and Joel's like, no, we're not. That's not happening on my watch. And and we can debate whether Joel made the right decision or not, and effed humanity by not allowing the Fireflies to do what they did, and obviously there's repercussions for his actions. But I mean,
BRAP, the only reason I interrupt you there is that's a debate I think that every fan of the game with over, and the reason I say that is Eric had said it in a different example earlier tonight. Is that
Eric? By the way, I would take the chicken sandwiches. By the way.
Yes,
Starbucks coffee doesn't. If they would have said Dunkin' Donuts,
how could coffee be in the QZ?
Nobody ever thinks about it this way. What if they performed that surgery on Ellie as the doctors? As we learned more in part 2, but nonetheless, we learned enough from Marlene at the end of 1. And what if they perform that surgery and not only does the patient not make it, but not one step further is that what happens if what they think is the cure or how the remedy isn't? So you lost a life, and for Joel, a daughter, really, again.
Right. Well, it's almost kind of like a foreshadowing too, because how they showed Ellie putting her, cutting her hand, putting her blood on Sam, and it didn't help, even though we all know why it didn't help, of course, because of things, but it kind of gives you that look into it, like, what, maybe even though, she may be immune, but maybe even whatever she has, they can't make it an actual cure. you know?
Right.
And just kind of like you said, like they kill her for no reason, basically. And then, you know, so it's just kind of,
and not even just that, but it's like everything Joel's been through and the things that he's seen. Again, we'll call back to another episode where he's seen what humanity can do when they feel, you know, they can't control something or they want to control something, you know, and basically fooling people to leave town and then just murdering them.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, in the field. So Joel's whole thing, when we get to that point, is probably just like, you know, it's like screw humanity. Like, who's to say that they'll do the right thing if they get, you know, the cure, and not, you know, use it in malicious ways or anything like that. You know.
Yeah, I forgot about the scene with the field. Yeah, I would say Fedra's definitely.
Yeah, that was
brutal. Yeah, I would say they're the worst.
Well, okay, so let me go. So Bomber, because you're third here, I'm going to go ahead and ask you for your answer on that question, and then I'm also going to go ahead and throw the curveball at you. Which one do you think is the more humane, moral side? And the other question I'll throw out, the reason I asked this question to all three of you, was when we saw Riley making those pipe bombs, and Ellie turned around and said, "But I thought you were going over there for the better," like we were saying, the better good. That's your sales pitch. Look at what Fedra's doing wrong. All the things that BRAP just listed out that Fedra's done wrong. And now you're going to light these pipe bombs and throw them over our wall and hurt innocent kids. There's schools. There's, you know, mothers. There's other people besides soldiers that you're going to just blanket throw these bombs over. So, Bomber, where are you on both of those fronts?
Let's see. I'll go ahead and throw it just because it was just fresh right there with the whole pipe bomb thing. Because like thing that threw me off there, especially with having the pipe bombs there, she just said that she's leaving to Atlanta. Why would she have pipe bombs with her? Just saying. Like, no, you ain't leaving for Atlanta in the morning. Like, that's not. You may have telling her that, but then you're like you said, she's gonna put these bombs where, you know, they need to do some damage. So it's
damage, right?
It's interesting because you have those groups, and it's like, Fedra. I mean, they're ultimately just like government. They're there to supposedly protect you, but then they also they don't give two shits either. They're gonna tell you what to do every second of the day. You can't go to this. You're done. You're 6 hours. You better go inside. You do not come out. Like, so you have super strict rules there. Fireflies are definitely a little bit looser, but then again, you don't have that comfortability of having all the arsenal you need, having the money, having the resources per se. You have to fight for those resources. The other thing is like the other humane thing is like at least Fedra is trying to eliminate the infected in the areas that they are, whereas Fireflies, they ain't doing that. They're just trying to keep themselves and then move. You know, they're constantly moving, so it's not like
constantly. Yes, they don't have a base.
Yeah, they're not there to fully eradicate things. No, they're just there to just let's survive, but let's just make us bigger, basically becoming something bigger than Fedra, basically, and then possibly being them. So, it's like them trying to overthrow. You know, it's like the people overthrowing the government. It's kind of like that funny thing, but
exactly.
So it's like, who's the more humane? I guess I'm going to go with the Fireflies, just because they're not doing the mass murdering, and
they're the revolution. Right.
They're the revolution. They're there to, give a good light, supposedly, so I'll give them that. Yeah. And of course I'd probably be on the Firefly side too. Cause just like Eric said, man, it's like you have more freedom. They have chicken sandwiches that look freaking bomb. So, and their symbol. I mean, come on, you paint that on your chest. I mean, come on. It's just, so yeah, I mean, it's just, it's definitely kind of cool, but you got to think of the mentality there. Cause like even Riley, they were there to become Fedra, and then she's just like, F this, especially when they told me I'm gonna go scoop up some crap. No, I'm good. Like I'd rather go bomb some places than shovel crap. So it's like it's kind of crazy. It is crazy which one's more humane, because I mean, hey, they're bombing, so you think about it, they're terrorists. I mean, they're blowing up innocent people just for a whatever they think is a positive cause. And so it's like, who's good, who's evil? It depends on which side you're on.
Depends on what side you're on.
I always look at the Star Wars effect. It's who's good and who's evil. Is Darth Vader actually evil? I don't know. I mean, he says he's good. All the people, he's there for a reason. He's trying to fight for this. So it's like, I don't know. It's funny. And that's why I think it's great too. And I think that's why they're doing such a good job with the emotional part, because everybody can pick a side, like these people are better. Yeah. It's kind of like that little militia group kind of gives you a foresight of what Fireflies could be, because we haven't fully seen what the Fireflies are, in the show.
Right.
So, you have your bits and pieces from the early part, but then after that, it's kind of like, you don't know. So you see this new militia, but then they kill all these innocent people inside a room.
See, it's
just because they wouldn't give up. Well, even though the one guy did, didn't give up the dude's Henry's location. So it's like, it's like one way or the other. Like, you're going to have somebody that's going to be a true dictator in a sense. It's like, I don't care who you are, you're dead to me,
right?
Because you didn't give me the information I wanted then.
But look at a situation like Ryan Landis points out. That's why I left it up on screen. That's a really good point. Kathleen instantly fell into being as cruel as Fedra. So she couldn't stand it. She led the revolt with her brother that we never got a chance to meet. But she led that revolt. And then, I commented it. I didn't use those exact words. So bravo to Ryan for bringing up a better point than even I did last week. That was really, really good point. Like, she went from a revolution and overtaking Fedra in Kansas City to becoming exactly what they are. She went on a hunt. It was a vendetta. It was a vendetta. That's not at all.
She sacrificed their people to
sacrifice just for this dude, for this one guy,
for something that was a family vendetta.
Right, like it's insane. It's just insane. But you also see what these people are going through. So their mentality isn't the best. Even these leaders, they have their weak points too. And
I didn't like Kathleen.
Well, no, I think
I was like she's terrible.
That was a bad casting.
I really think.
No, I didn't think the casting was that bad. But I would say, like, as a character, I thought like you guys said, like she became the thing that she was fighting against.
Kind of both. I kind of
think
agree
it was
with
both.
I think
it was both for me, because I was like,
should have let Jeffrey Pierce, who's the original voice of Tommy. He listen. They put him in the show. They put him in the show. And when you saw Kathleen and you saw, I believe his name was Perry, in the show, you immediately were like, Perry just looked like he was just a badass. Pardon my French. He was bad. You know what I mean? Like, all to the like, even when she said take care of all those people that were in that cell, he's the one that had to go and do that deed. And I don't care, following orders, not following orders.
He was loyal to a fault, though. That was the problem, and that loyalty showed when that bloater came out. I would have been like, Kathleen, I'm out. Here's my gun.
Yeah,
I'm out. She would have been like, where are you, Perry? And she would have looked around. I would have been gone.
I just would have thrown her at.
I would have like this. Yeah, I would have been running down the street. I'm out.
Yeah.
Great.
Once that ground started shaking, I'm out.
No, that was it. You knew it was coming.
I'm out.
As soon as the trucks start, they go in that same call. You're like, I'm deuces, dude. Like,
I would have. You would have seen me. I would have been the only guy down the street running.
No, I would have jumped in the trucks, dude. The trucks were fine at that point. And I'm like, dude,
he warned her. He gave her that look when they first saw the ground like don't you think we should do something about this? But like Mooch said, her vendetta, she was blind with rage. Like, she couldn't see beyond it.
She fell to the dark side of the force.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you do see they kind of highlight this weird thing, like with those in power, like who dictates, like who decides who gets what and why. Like, what's your reasoning? Because even when the sergeant was explaining to Ellie, like, look, if you're in line, you can be this, where this other girl's gonna be this. Like, what dictates
Bethany's going to be over you.
So it's sort of like, and then Riley, like you said, her whole thing was like, I saw my future with Fedra. It was going to be scooping, crap out of the sewer.
Right.
Like why? Who makes that decision and why? Like, what's the power, thing here? Like the hierarchy. Like, who gets what position? Is it like who Is it, that type of thing? Just like anybody who's in power, it's like you bring your friends along.
Yeah, they did that same breakdown in the last season. If you want to call it season, they stretched it out until like three a year and a half. But the last season of Walking Dead with the Commonwealth, how they determined they brought in Rick Rick wasn't there, but Rick's team. I still call them Rick's team. And they interviewed and they saw if you had a place in society, if you were a doctor before the world, crumbled, or you were a lawyer, you would be there. You would be there. And then if you were just like, oh, I worked at, whatever, they'd be like, oh, well, then you're going to do that's Fedra. I mean, they're just placing people, like you said. Riley's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I need a purpose. I want to have a reason. This is an exciting question I got for you guys here. I've got to ask you, everyone's been waiting for this villain, right? We just said Kathleen didn't really check all the mark all the boxes down for all of us. David is next week, and David is by far the biggest villain, I believe, in the game. I think outside of, but the chat will get me here, outside of the world, right? Okay, because the world is a villain. I get that. We went into a very, very deep discussion on that the past couple of weeks. But David, I want to ask you this. So I'll start with Eric. Eric, do you think David, the casting, first of all, it's one of the first ones where I was like taking a little bit step back. David has dark hair, looks a little bit different. This guy's got blonde hair. He didn't look like David. The minute Ellie met David, I'm like, you got that gut feeling.
You got creep vibes.
Yep. You were like, this dude's no good. I didn't get the same feeling from this casting for David. What did you think, Eric? I mean, granted, I'm not giving anyone a fair chance. It's predictions. What do you think about next week with David? I'm very excited for this episode, but do you think the casting, and do you think that they're going to, how many surprises do you think we're going to get next week?
Because they showed he looks like a little older than the game character, right?
A little bit, yep.
A little bit older, right? Just off of the clip that they showed, there seemed to be like a dynamic between the David, as what we think we may know about him, and then I see like Troy Baker showing up as whatever.
Troy Baker is in next week's episode, yes.
Yeah, but just from seeing that clip, it kind of almost looked like, I wonder if they're going to kind of maybe do like a duality where Troy is sort of like the bigger a-hole in the whole scenario, and David is a little bit more.
So again, they're doing what they did. So the same thing they did with Jeffrey Pierce and having that role, right? They're having Troy Baker come in and play this, more sinister character than David. I agree, Eric. Go ahead. I apologize for interrupting you, but I agree with you.
No, it's fine, because I mean, I've seen what Troy can do when he chews the scenery when he plays a villain. I mean, you remember his character in Death Stranding was like,
oh man,
like one of the coolest like characters in a game. For those of us who got to that point in the game, actually,
you got to get that far, yeah.
But so I can kind of see them. You get a Troy Baker to come in, and you want to like allow him to kind of like do his thing. So I'm almost wondering if he's going to be like the big bad more so than he's going to actually be the David that we know, while this other guy is sort of like trying to keep it all together. I'm wondering if that's what we're about to get. That's kind of the impression I got just from the quick sample that we got. So,
well, shout out to Mamba. He's kind of walking that line with you. He says cult leaders are supposed to be welcoming and appealing. So this is true. But again, Mamba, I have to go back.
Damn good point, man.
It's a damn good point. But I didn't feel David in the game was.
No, he was.
He didn't feel like he was welcoming or appealing.
Not at all.
I didn't think
you got your hair standing up on your neck.
Oh yeah, you were just like,
come on, man. It was like, this guy ain't no good, man.
Can I go ahead and pop him real quick?
The only reason Ellie didn't shoot him was because there was a chance of antibiotics or some sort of medicine for Joel, because she knows she was hunting for food and anything in the world that would look like penicillin. I mean, so when he said we have medicine, we have those drugs, that was what I think she was like, okay, we'll wait then. I'll wait. But other than that, I think in the game, that guy was gone.
Oh, for sure.
No, Mooch. The vibe you get from him. Let's go back to like preschool. It's like, hey, little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, man.
He's the big
That's
bad wolf.
The feeling that you get from David when you see him come on screen. You're like, yo, this guy is no damn good, man.
No good.
So yeah,
no good. No, BRAP, what did you think? What did you think of the casting of David? Did you get a chance to see the minute or two after the show?
Yeah, I did. I mean, he doesn't look, I think, as creepy as Dave in the game, but he did give me kind of a weird vibe, kind of like definitely a cultist vibe, kind of remind me of like a religious cult leader.
Yeah.
Kind of gave me that vibe.
Do you think you're going to, do you think they'll spin it a little bit, BRAP, and maybe exodus a little bit of the game there and take their own path?
I think they will. They probably will, just to
That could work.
I think the set pieces will be very similar, but I think, because they're trying to add some more, background to some of these characters, I think that oh my God, DeFloyd said want some candy. Jeez. Oh my God.
Shout out to the DeFloyd. Yes.
So I think they'll probably deviate a little bit from the game in terms of just trying to flesh out his character more, and but no, I mean, I think it was cool to see Troy Baker. I mean, we knew he was going to be in the show, and it's cool to see him have a part.
I forgot he was going to be in the show, Brad.
Yeah, and actually, what's her face is going to be in the show too. Kind of the actress who
played Ellie.
Yeah, who voiced Ellie.
Is she in this upcoming weeks, or we don't know?
I don't know. I do know. She actually is playing Ellie's mom. So there's going to be a flashback to like there has been doing flashbacks to the game. They're going to actually introduce her because Neil Druckmann actually said that in one of the earlier episodes or was it episode or an interview? I forget, where he talked about like he had actually written a script for Ellie's mom and then just never. He just felt like it didn't make sense to kind of put it in the game. So what's happening too is Neo's taking things that he wanted to incorporate in the game and maybe pull back and is kind of introducing these things now. So, but I think it's going to be interesting.
He's letting Craig Mason, do what he does too, man.
Oh yeah.
He alluded to that. He was like, with the change up on Sam. He's like, damn, man, I wish I thought of that.
Yeah, I saw that.
A great point. Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah. But it's gonna be interesting to see. It looks like Troy Baker's gonna have a pretty significant role in this, just on the interaction that we saw just from the preview for next week. So or this week, I should say.
Yeah, no, Bomber. What do you think? Same thing. How do you feel? Because listen, it's funny. You might think, well, geez, Mooch, why are you asking this? I'm kind of doing the what is it there? It's the quiet before the storm, and what I mean by that is next week I know everyone's gonna be up in arms whether. This guy who's playing David is either going to kill it and everyone's going to say this is great, or they're not going to like it and they're going to go, we've been waiting for this villain the whole season and it didn't deliver on a couple of fronts. What do you think? I mean, from what you see, I mean, you only saw a minute and a half.
Yeah, you only saw
I'm really
clip,
asking you to predict the future. It's not fair, but hey, as the host, I get to do that.
No, absolutely.
Fun,
No, like I think I actually think he will he'll do a dang good job at portraying this this character. I think, he may not look the part as the game,
right?
But I don't think that matters really, not for this character, because this character could be anybody really. And so I feel like his look kind of gives that he's seasoned, he's been there a while, he's going to be able to kind of give. I don't know. It's kind of hard because again, like we've all said, he is. They are making some big change. Not say big, but enough changes for the show to make sense for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Versus and emotionally attaching, so it's kind of like this guy could kill it, be like a Bill character, but it's one you hate.
Yeah.
But it ends up being great. So it's like.
Yeah.
I feel like he could because he kind of has that, to me, a douchebaggy vibe. I don't know why that's a thing, but to me that it is just to me. And I think Troy Baker, I think he's definitely going to have a nice little role, but I think it's going to be
it'll be short and sweet.
It's going to be a short and sweet kind of like a. He'll show his ass, I think, for sure. But like
Master Chief.
Like, well, maybe not the cheeks, thank God. I hope not. Like, let's keep this non-cheekish, like freaking Halo,
please.
But no, like I feel like he's gonna show that the dickish side. Like I just feel like he's gonna show.
Oh yeah,
that side, and it's gonna be great.
It looked like he was gonna be playing, David's, right hand,
like a right hand man doing
any of the dirty work that he's done.
Mm-hmm. So I think. I mean, I think this is going to be a really good episode because for some reason they've kind of hit certain, like they've gotten in this good rhythm, and I feel like this rhythm is a really good one to say to end it.
Yeah,
you have only one more episode after that. And
I was just gonna say,
like you said earlier, like how are we gonna have one episode of 43 minutes long to do in the hospital? Like, there's no way.
Second week of doing this reaction show, I said, don't you think we should have taken this show? Don't you think they should have, not we, they should have taken this show and they should have actually stretched it. I think they could have very easily made
2 seasons of this.
Part 1, 2 seasons.
Easy.
And I don't mean that to bore the gaming audience. We had relationships and character growth with Frank, with Bill, with Jeffrey Pierce, Perry's character, with Sam and Henry, the people that were escaping the Kansas City folks. There's people in hideouts. There's so much there. I'm wondering, why would a Walking Dead type of show want to go 11 seasons and this one just wants to bang it out? Why would you? I just think that, let me put it this way. We're looking at probably 3 seasons of The Last of Us. That's 1 for part 1 and 2 seasons dedicated to part 2. I think that's it. It. Whereas this could have very easily been 5 seasons. 5 seasons, and that would have been marvelous. The character breakdown. Yeah, you would have had a couple of real, maybe a couple of duds in between, right? But that's all right, because all you need is that one. It's like golf, right? All you need is one good hole. That doesn't mean you're excited about the next 17. It means you'll play the rest of the summer with the chance you might get one good hole.
But, maybe Sony just really didn't think. I mean, maybe they didn't think this would hit like it did, and so they're just like, "Well, crap." I mean, they've already put all their eggs in the basket for
that's a good
episode.
Bomber.
It's like, you have part 1. We already have that in the bag. So I mean, could they stretch part 2 into 3 seasons? I mean, maybe, but are they going to? But then they could easily, because of how, the amount of characters that are in that story. You could easily make that huge, and there's so much character building you can make that could be well beyond what the game could ever do. So I think they could easily put 3 seasons on part 2, in a sense, in my personal opinion, because I think they could potentially make Joel be good for a little bit longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of things that they could definitely grow. But it is weird how, we see all this now and we're like, crap. Yeah, they could easily make this into 2 seasons easy.
And you know what? Shout out to, first of all, Black Mamba. Thank you so much. Just every week, this podcast and panel, knock it out the park. Mamba, thanks for being here, buddy. I truly appreciate that. And, the great Jack Reeves. Jack, big time fan of The Last of Us, by the way. Shout out to Jack. But Jack goes, no, I disagree. He says, I trust Neil. 1 season is enough to tell a story. So, Jack, let me say this much. I agree with you. It's definitely enough to tell the story. What I'm saying, as a fan of The Last of Us and a fan of that world, I want more. So, Jack, I know how much of a fan you are. There's no way, if Neil Druckmann called you directly and was like, you know what, Jack, I'm going to go ahead and make episode 1, or, part 1 is going to be 2 seasons. You would have been like, thank you, Neil. Thank you so much. Like, why, or make it 3 seasons? Like, my point is, like, why not have this thing go last? Like, so you have 6 seasons of, like, I have House of the Dragon stuck in my head, but it was Game of Thrones, right? 11 seasons is clearly too much. Ask The Walking Dead, too long. But 5, 6 seasons for, like, Breaking Bad. I don't know if you guys all watched Breaking Bad, but a lot of people thought 5 seasons was too short for Breaking Bad. They thought they could have went a little.
It ended right when it needed to. I think it.
I agree, Eric.
The one thing I'll say, like, you look at what Craig Mazin did with Chernobyl. That was 1 season. He told the story he needed to tell, and got out. And you look at, like, Watchmen. It told the story that it needed to tell, and then it went off. Those are creators knowing when something is what they need to do is enough. I don't know what the plan may be for The Last of Us. We know that there's source material there, like, to do it, but HBO as a platform of having some of the best shows in television history has always seemed to be pretty good, for the most part, about ending a series when it needs to be ended, or giving the creator the option to do so.
Not Game of Thrones, though.
Misfires.
I think Game of Thrones was a misfire.
But I think that was, honestly, my opinion, on that, not to go off on a tangent, I think they got like sandbagged in a way because the two guys who were still working on that thought they had dreams and aspirations to go work on Star Wars, and it's almost like, oh well,
they went to go make a movie,
you know, and they stepped on the rake with what was left of Game of Thrones. And they're like, yeah, and then that all, you know how that all went. So, but then you look at something like Carnival, where it had a huge fan base, and they ended that, and people were like, wait, what? You know, what happened there? So,
good point.
I don't know what the plan is for The Last of Us. I could see it possibly going maybe one more season, or maybe even maybe 3, but I don't think this is going to be a show that's going to be around for 5 or 6 seasons. I don't think it needs to do that. I think this is one of those things where you get in and you tell the story. Right. I think you tell the story and then you keep it, moving. So
our resident Hollywood expert, Dark Goldblum here, he says 5 to 6 seasons for a show is a sweet spot, in my opinion. I agree. I think 5. I really do. I think 5 is perfect. Again, it depends on the story, right? I'm not speaking in absolutes. I'm not saying every show needs to end in 5, but I agree with Dark Optimus. I really do. I think 5 to 6 seasons is good. And Eric, outstanding way to put step on the rake as far as the way Game of Thrones ended. That last season could have very easily been 2 seasons, or you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they didn't even give us 12 episodes. So what are you doing here?
It was just, I was like, you guys are like all over the place.
you know, it's
they rushed that shit.
Phoned in. It felt very phoned in. It felt like when you're playing the game, you're like, when the hell's this game ending? It's really overstaying its welcome at this point.
No, I completely agree.
It's a shame.
It really is. But I tell you, the excitement is through the roof. I love seeing all the attention that the show is getting. I never thought it would have been this big. I knew it would be big. I didn't think it would be this big. And maybe that's why I kind of got to go back to what Bomber said a little bit ago. They didn't really know what they had. And I think now that they know, they're like, we could have stretched each of these games into 2 seasons or more, right?
Oh, yeah, because I think they were just kind of betting on, okay, like our gamers are going to watch it for sure. So they know so many millions of people are going to watch it because they played the game.
Yes.
But to know that they did so well with this casting and everything else they've done, to know that, crap, man, we did bring up something special, and crap, there's people coming out that have never watched it, and they keep saying the views keep going up almost on every single episode. So it's like, word of mouth is getting out there. Like, I mean, shoot, I was at my barber the other day, and he's never even heard of it. He was like, isn't that a video game? I was like, it's based off a video game. Yeah, for sure. But you need to watch it. He's like, all right.
Isn't it crazy the world that we're in, and we talk games and we talk to so many people in the community, and then you have somebody go, is that like a video game thing? And you're like, you want to turn to him and be like, what planet are you on?
Right. But I have to think about it. I get it.
Ask your barber about the ABK deal. Listen, he'll be like, the what? Shout out to the great Jimmy Harrison. There's a reason he's the great Jimmy Harrison. He is one of the best people in the community. He supports me, of course, and he supports so many other great channels. Jimmy, thanks for being here. He says, what is up, my brothers? I wasn't missing this one. Jim, thanks again, buddy. I always appreciate it. And honestly, it's just, it's not a podcast unless you're around. So, Jimmy, I appreciate that. Also, there's an interesting comment here by, am I saying it? Is Cole Sash? He says, video game properties probably not given the green light. More of everything you need. Hopefully, success allows for more and longer episodes next season. Also good for future video game adaptions. So I like where he's going there. Cole Sace. I always say that wrong. I don't know. I apologize.
But maybe Cole's Ace.
I think it's Colsachi.
Colsachi? Hell, I don't know.
I like
I was thinking Cole's like
Colsachi. I like that.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
That's what it's going to be. I love it.
I sunk off in Alabama, so don't worry about me.
But he makes a good point. Maybe this is that stepping stone. You know, I mean, because we had a discussion ways back too about the whole God of War is going to get a show, Twisted Metal. Those so you could take God of War with the lore and everything that's going on with the mythology.
But that's a 10 season.
Yeah, so you can go on probably for the rest of our lives. There's books. There's plenty of books for your research. But yeah, it may be a stepping stone where we get a little bit more than we did here, and I'm hoping so. And we'll find out in the very near future. But we do have an outstanding week coming up. I want to say thanks to everybody that's here. BRAP had to drop off. He just wrote me, said, Mooch, I had to go. Thanks to BRAP for being here. Thanks to Bomber. Thanks to Eric. Thanks for all the super chats, guys. Like I say, this isn't supposed to be like, I just love talking about The Last of Us. And I said, you know what? I got to get the guys that I always talk about The Last of Us with behind the scenes. You guys are seeing them week in and week out on this show. These guys love the game. They're enjoying the show. Like I said, we are all enjoying the show, regardless. A couple of criticisms here or there, but they're wholesome. They're wholesome. There's nothing that at all is ruining the show for me whatsoever. I absolutely love it. So we'll kind of go in reverse order. Wait, say it again.
Every time I watch it, I'm like, I gotta play this game again. I'm gonna wait.
I gotta get back to part 2 because I still haven't finished it yet. So
yeah, get to that. Bomber, honestly,
especially before the new season of the show.
Yeah, well, you've got some time. From the folks that I know that are in the know, they were saying that I guess season 2 of this isn't going to come out till like could be the end of 24 or early 25. Yeah. So you got some time.
Yeah, I got some time.
You know the problem though, on a gaming related subject is there's so much to play right now.
Oh, dude.
I mean, I'm halfway through Hogwarts. Right, there's Forspoken. There's PSVR 2. I'm dabbling with. And then Warzone. All I need is my crew to get a hold of me for Warzone, and I lost Saturday. Saturday's gone. When the summer comes, at least you have the lawn. You have things to do here, but it's so cold. Bomber doesn't know you. You don't either.
Hey, look, it gets cold here, dude. Look, it gets cold. Look, it may not get like
Bomber.
You're kind of cold, but I mean, when it's 20 degrees,
it's not cold.
Right now, that's true, but when it's 20. It's freaking cold here. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you that.
I mean, it's like here 76 here right now, man.
Right now, as we speak, at 8:40 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, 76 degrees.
Now that's
crazy. It is 34 degrees in New York, and we are getting a huge storm that's supposed to start in the next 20 minutes.
Okay, it's 73 here right now.
Yeah, we're supposed to get like a foot of snow or something like that. So that's why Bomber's like it's cold.
Well, I say it can be. It gets cold. Like we do get cold here, man. When it's 20 degrees here with our humidity and everything else, shoot, it's just a piercing cold. Like
it was legitimately last Saturday. Don't quote me. I don't have the weather schedule up in front of me here, but I believe it was last Saturday. We were at -6.
Hey,
that's
I
right.
Out
it
in
was actually a minus in
sucks.
Front of the number, and it was not a math equation. How the hell do we live here? All right, listen, the great Jimmy Harrison says, always good to see you, Bomber. Love the setup. Eric J, absolutely. Bomber, let people know where they can find you, buddy, and thanks for being here tonight.
Of course, I appreciate it. Always thank you for the invite, even though I know a lot of times I can't ever accept it.
It's tough to get you on the show, but I love when you're here.
I appreciate it. Of course, you can find me on everywhere at HR Bomber. Of course, you can find me every Sunday now. I have to remember at 8 p.m. Eastern time as Game Beyond the Box with Wilmy Hood and the gang. So we do a lot of just randomized gaming and whatever, any kind of news that comes out, or if it's just not news, we just want to sit there and.
Well, I'll be on Sunday night. I'll be on Sunday night, Bomber. Hopefully, you can make it. Yes.
Well, this Sunday, I won't. I'm actually out of town this Sunday. So.
See, there you go again. I can't. I
cannot
lock down a meeting with HR Bomber. It's very difficult, folks. And I try. Believe me, Mooch is very persistent. You can ask both of these gentlemen.
Oh, absolutely.
Bomber, thanks for being here, buddy. I really appreciate it. Always great to talk gaming with you. Eric, you know how much I love just talking games, hanging out with you. Just one of the greatest in the community, buddy. Let everybody know where they can find you. And, listen. Regardless, Mooch is still going to be in the DMs asking you, I got to get you on my show. So, listen, whenever you can make Crossfire, you let me know you have a seat all the time.
I'm going to try to make it this Friday, man. But I told you, man, what I have to do is fool the universe. I can't get too dedicated. I can't get too excited. I say, absolutely. Anytime I say, damn straight, Mooch, I'll be there Friday. And I'm like, universe.
I know when I get that Friday DM in the morning from you, I'm like, oh, no. I can't look. It's Mooch, I can't make it tonight. I'm like, no, you got to be there, man. No, honestly, you have no idea. It's a pleasure to talk games with you, man. Let people know where they can find you, and I am very much hoping we get to do this again on Friday night.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can make it Friday. Like I said, I'm not gonna put it out there. Come in like the last minute,
Yeah, no absolute. We don't speak in absolute. Just say here. Absolutely.
So, but no, thanks for having me, man. No, you can find me on Twitter, EC Jackson with an X out there. Just trying to make people laugh, man. It's just, shit ain't, I don't want to curse because I don't want you to get demonetized or anything, but it's not serious, people. It's not that serious.
It's right.
You know, none of it. None of it.
No.
So yeah, just have some fun, man. Enjoy.
Yeah.
But no, thanks for having me, man. Great conversation. Always love chopping it up with you guys, and hopefully we'll make it Friday night. There's a lot to talk about, man.
Yes, there is. It's going to be a great Crossfire. And Eric with a great segue. Again, guys, Crossfire, 7 p.m. Eastern Friday. We are going to have an unbelievable lineup of this panel. I'm already getting excited about it. Shout out to the great panel in chat that was here tonight. Chat, the super chat was phenomenal. Thank you guys. Super chat was working, and I appreciate it. The great Jimmy Harrison. I've got so many people here. Black Mamba was here. He's definitely contributing. Ryan Landis, Brian East, Matty Beast, the DeFloyd, Febreze, Blaze 4K. I see all you guys. Noof Nukem, Viewmaster. Thank you guys so much. Jack Reeves. You guys are all outstanding. I'm going to take us out with a little music, and we'll be back next Monday here at 7 p.m. Eastern. And again, remember, Crossfire, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Hit a button, guys, on the way out, and enjoy next week's Last of Us Episode 8. Until then, guys, we'll see you later, and good evening.